Welcome back, TCSTV viewers. It's Jordan Drake, and I'm here with my friend Levi Holwell, who you may have seen in some earlier episodes. And he keeps showing up, shooting episodes from time to time. He's saved us a couple times. 2 summers ago, we made a film together.
Yeah, we finished it up in January, kind of ran it through a couple local festivals, and now it's kind of coming to the end of its life cycle, so we're putting it online.
Well, this isn't the end of its life cycle. That sounds so defeatist. It's ready for public consumption, and we can see that debate about it. If you check the description here, you'll see the link to Metanoia, the film that we shot. And I kind of want to talk about the things that absolutely saved my ass when we were doing it. And some stuff that I wish we had, but how we used them to tell a story, and some stuff that honestly I don't think the film could have come across, looked the way that it does.
I think without these 3 pieces of gear, we wouldn't have been able to make the film.
Anything like what the current film is now.
Yeah, so we're going to talk about those.
So the first thing I want to talk about, everybody asked me, what camera did you shoot it on? And you know, we'd looked at some bigger cinema cameras, but we decided on the FS7. And going into it, you know, we're kind of scripted, looking at our shot lists, and figured we were going to shoot the vast majority of the movie on the FS7. Yeah,
kind of like our expectations going into filming, we figured we'd shoot about 80% of the film on the FS7 and just certain kind of select sequences on the Sony A7s Mark I. At the time, the Sony A7s II was not out.
That's how long ago it was.
That's when we shot, and that brings us to our first piece of gear that saved our ass, which is the Sony A7s.
Yeah, and we really did need the high ISO performance on this. And I mean, it's tricky because, of course, we're shooting the film in 4K, so we're taking a resolution hit jumping over to it. But the film, you know, the final master of it is 1080p.
Is 1080,
So we don't see the audience certainly won't see that limitation there. But it absolutely saved us in terms of maneuverability and that unbelievable high ISO performance.
Yeah, that was the main reason, obviously, that we kind of started to shoot more and more on the A7S, was that really high sensitivity. There's a lot of shots in the film that are way up there at 12,800 ISO, 25,000, 51,000.
It's crazy.
And again, sometimes we would grab the camera because of its size, its portability, but a lot of the times it was because we needed that really high sensitivity. Most of the film takes place at night. It was night shoots, so we needed a camera that allowed us to shoot at those really high ISOs and still get up.
Well, and it gave us really 3 major advantages. First of all, we could move faster because we had a skeleton crew. I mean, the budget for you self-financed this movie.
Yeah, it's basically a no-budget film, which is important. Everything that we're talking about is very much...
It was like a friends and family kind of shoot.
Yeah, everyone worked for free. It was no budget, and very small crew. So, of course, we know that some films or projects that take place at night can be shot without going to 51,000 ISO. We know that's possible. But again, just talking about our experiences, and especially just independent, small, no-budget productions, that's probably the people that this information is most relevant to.
The other really important thing I think people forget about using those high ISO sensitivities is it gave us a lot of flexibility in terms of depth of field.
Yeah, we didn't have to shoot everything at night at f1.8. We could at least get to maybe sometimes 5.6, up to 7, so we're holding on to some of that information in a deeper depth of field, which at certain times you definitely want.
Yeah, well, I mean, the majority of the chase sequence was shot on the A7S. And you need that ability to stop down a little bit for it, to get some context on what people are moving through, things like that.
I would say one of the biggest things that I learned about just high ISO, high sensitivity shooting, whether it's the A7S or now, of course, more cameras are getting better at this overall, is it used to be, the question was like, what do I need those really high ISOs for? And kind of the classic example is like, going out to a farmland at midnight and having nothing but the moon and you can still shoot something. And that is true. There are a lot of times where it was basically pitch black and the camera allowed us to see even better than our eyes did. But what I think is also really important is it allows you to work with practical lights in a different way, with things like street lights, with lights coming off of buildings. Like the best example I can think of is there's a shot in the film where a truck is kind of driving around the outside of a welding shop. And we had some really interesting colors coming from like the the lights coming off the welding shop, whatever.
Yeah, just
like
gross sodium vapor.
yeah,
green
exactly.
light.
Weird color, but again, we shoot at a really high sensitivity, and we kind of get exactly that moody look that our eyes are
And we
seeing.
lucked out too. I mean, I would not want to shoot a romantic comedy under those, but when
Right.
you're trying to do a moody,
Yeah.
kind of suspenseful scene,
Yeah.
it works brilliantly.
And again, like that's a tracking shot that I was on the Ronin with, and if we were at 1.8, that thing's out of focus.
Totally.
We get that up to about 12,800 ISO, and I'm shooting that at f5.6, and we keep everything in focus.
Yeah, there's
so-
context
yeah.
for what's going on in it.
Every project's different, but in this case, again, we had the opportunity to try to look at some bigger, more expensive or well-known cinema cameras, and it just wasn't the tool for this project.
Right.
So I think you're just trying to pick gear that is going to allow you to get the look you want in the most easiest and efficient way possible.
Absolutely.
The quickest way to get there, and that's not always the most expensive piece of gear.
Let's talk a little bit as a DP. One of the main things I'm focused on is the lighting of the shot. So let's talk about some lights a little bit.
Yeah, definitely.
We use Hive plasma lights as our big guns for this.
Yeah.
For a couple of reasons, but the most important one is we shot in a 100-year-old house. I would not want to be either trying to run HMI lights or something like that on it.
Yeah.
Or running a generator. I can't, we're looking at like, what's a shot that's really going to show off the Hive? And where we really used it is as like our accent lights, shooting through a window a lot of the time. For some chase stuff, we just shot it at its moonlight setting, which is gorgeous, just into a big sheet of diffusion to fill things in. So it's not a flashy light. It's blending into the environment a lot more. But because it was so portable, and especially I think color tunability is often underrated in terms of how effective it is. The moonlight setting on those lights was truly beautiful and gave us a lot of color separation in our shots.
Yeah, again, especially for speed purposes, right? And just being able to get to that moonlight setting and get the color that we want coming right out of the light instead of always trying to get there with gels or something like that.
Yeah.
But we always had it, very far away from the camera. We kind of tried to use it in the most subtle way possible, and it was really great for that because it threw a lot of light. It was very portable. We could get it in some interesting spots. I know for sure one time we were shining it through a bedroom window, and we just had no problem throwing it up on a big light stand, having it 30 feet up in the air. And it doesn't take 3 people to lower it down.
Exactly.
It's
it just
still
took me
relatively
cutting my
lightweight.
hand up.
Yeah, exactly. It took a little bit of personal sacrifice, but we used it typically always shooting it through windows or through glass, and never in a really direct or obvious way.
Probably my favorite lighting setup in the film is in a barn, and we just shot it through the splintered ceiling of that, which came off very natural and I think really beautiful. I was really happy with that when I saw it. Someone, I don't know who, misplaced our diffusion at a certain point when we were doing a night shoot. And this is something I would never do with an HMI or especially a hot light. But what I actually wound up doing is when you're looking at these big sheets of gel or diffusion, they have backing paper on them. Like it's just
To protect the gels.
It's like toilet paper basically. But completely saved us. I couldn't find the real diffusion. We dropped those in front of the lights. I didn't have to worry about them suddenly bursting into flame. And it looks just fine,
We were using them quite consistently, and it was always doing the job. It might not look so pretty off camera, but when in terms of what's showing up, that's what it matters the most.
So if you're grabbing gels and you're sorting them all and everything like that, keep that backing paper in there, because
especially if you know yourself to be someone who misplaces things.
Yes,
which we
both
are.
of us are. I mean, again, I'm not singling a particular member of the crew. It could very well have been me as well.
Yeah, exactly. It probably was.
At the other end of the spectrum, though, we used hard lighting occasionally in this, but a lot of it's very soft. And LEDs I've found I generally try to avoid. We had some flex lights from Westcott on set. I almost never used them.
A couple times due to their malleability, but
they're very flexible, lightweight lights. But my problem with most LEDs is you can't get close to them, or you start seeing, because there's a bunch of individual light sources, you start to see a bunch of shadows, and it looks terrible. So just before, like a couple weeks before we started shooting, we got these Luma Shadowless LEDs in. Now they're also like the photodiox flapjack, same kind of idea here. But essentially, it's just a beautiful, very soft light that's very, very even on it.
Yeah.
Basically replaces a softbox.
Yeah.
But takes up way less space because typically we've got the fixture,
Yeah.
softbox in front of it.
Yeah.
With these, I mean, there were times we were just wedging them in the frames of the house.
Yeah.
We taped them to the walls at certain shots.
Yeah.
Because they're so unbelievably portable.
They're really portable, really light, and yeah, the light that comes off of them, you know, you turn it on, and I just always, and to this day, am still so impressed with the quality of light from them.
Yeah, like when we needed a single light source,
Yeah.
and again, this was largely coming down to time constraints.
Yeah.
We just threw one of these over our lead, and I mean, again, if I were to do it over again, I'd probably light that the exact same way.
Yeah, and it's, again, very soft light. Like the best example of it is at one point in the film, there's a character sitting underneath one of those lights on a bench, and that's the sole light in that shot. So that's a really good indication of the quality of light and how soft it is. And again, like I just think that the quality of light coming right out from turning it on is fantastic. You don't have to do a lot of work modifying it. It doesn't have any sort of weird color cast or anything
No, it's
like
amazing how quickly that became our solution to so many of our problems when we needed a little bit of fill or anything like that. So since, and this is the cool thing, because we can look back at it a little bit. This we shot quite a while ago. What stuff that's out there now would you have killed to have when we were on set?
I think definitely the first thing that comes to mind with a piece of gear that we wish we had at the time would be an A7S II.
Right.
So the second version of that camera, which came out maybe 4 or 5 months after we finished filming.
And the whole time I was testing it in New York, I was thinking like, God damn, I gotta use this.
Yeah, I mean, the big thing being just 4K internal. I'd say like there were a lot of times where we would have liked to have had a little bit more resolution, or we didn't, you know, quite get the shot perfect, and we just needed a little bit of a crop.
Right. Well, especially because we worked with small primes so much with the A7 to float it on the gimbal and things like that. To reframe that shot in post, you know, if our master's 1080 and we crop, we're losing resolution immediately at that point.
And that did happen a couple times. Like,
like, you know, we're not going to tell you what, but watch the movie. See if you can see where we cropped the A7S.
Yeah, it got aggressive at times to cover up mistakes that we made in our frame, which I know isn't the ideal way of working, but sometimes you're going to make mistakes and not get things right when you're working on a project. And when that happens, it's nice to have a camera feature to help, you know, make you look good.
Yeah.
And in this case, we just didn't have that extra resolution to help us with those crops.
Well, and it would have been great too, the built-in stabilizer, because we actually shot, a lot of people have said, like, it looks like it's mostly locked off or on a gimbal, but there's a lot of handheld work in there.
And most of the I can think of a good bulk of handheld was because we forgot, I think, the Ronin battery or the Glide Cam or something.
Right.
So we had no choice.
Yeah, and it's like, we got to move now. So, grab it and go. And just having that built-in thing to take out a tiny bit of that wobble would have been really, really nice. But yeah, I mean, those are the things the pieces of gear that saved our ass, you know, and some stuff that I wish that we had as well when we were there.
Yeah.
But I just want to, like, especially thank you, because you did take a absurd chance having me DP this movie, and I loved it, and it's you know, an experience I'm not going to forget, and it's made me a better shooter as a result.
Yeah, like it was just it was really fun to collaborate with people, you know, and work on something that takes more than just one person to get it done. That's obviously where a lot of the memories are being made. So yeah, it was definitely a memorable experience for sure, and a good one, pretty much all around.
Yeah, I can't wait to hear everyone's feedback on it, and you know, I just hope, you know, down the road or something, we find ourselves on set working together again, because it was a lot of fun, and thanks for coming in too, and just chatting with us a little bit about filmmaking, because it's not something we get to talk about much on this channel.
Yeah, I will not fully go away, maybe ever. I'll just pop up. Even the viewers who don't like me will be like, this guy just won't die.
They're just going to have to deal with it, because you are useful, my friend.
But yeah, if you guys are interested, you can check out the film in the link in the description.
Follow you on Instagram.
Yeah.
We'll have that at the bottom of the screen right now. As always, guys, follow Chris and I on Twitter. Check out our Instagram channels as well. Definitely subscribe, and I mean, if we see a lot of interest, I would love to do more conversations about filmmaking.
Yeah, and yeah, absolutely. If you do have, you know, the desire to go and check out the film and have any questions, either leave them on that video or on this one. If there's anything we didn't cover that you guys are, genuinely interested in upon watching the film, just let us know. We'll try to answer those questions if there are any.
Absolutely. Well, thanks for coming, Levi, and we'll see you guys next time.
Bye-bye.